The world can change in a single moment. For Amira Adeyemi, that moment came the night her mother died. She was only 16, still tender, still clinging to the warmth of a childhood not yet finished. Her father, Chief Desmond Adeyemi, one of Lagos' most respected billionaires, stood by the coffin like a broken pillar. His agbada was soaked with tears the world never thought he could shed. A man who had conquered industries, built empires, and commanded boardrooms was suddenly reduced to silence. He vowed that night, whispering into Amira's trembling ears, "I will never remarry. All my love now belongs to you." And he meant it. For years, Chief Desmond lived as a widower. His Ikoyi estate, once full of laughter, became quieter but never cold. Amira became his joy, his reason to smile. He poured his energy into her upbringing, shaping her into a reflection of her late mother, gentle, compassionate, but strong in spirit. While the children of other billionaires paraded in arrogance, Amira treated drivers, cooks, and even street hawkers with kindness. The staff adored her, society admired her, and her father worshipped the ground she walked on. By the time she entered university, Amira was more than just beautiful. She carried herself with dignity that even professors respected. Students admired her not for her wealth, but for her humility. Boys chased her with expensive gifts, but she was not moved by shiny promises. She had inherited her father's wisdom, the ability to see through shallow words. It was in her second year that she met Tamawa. The encounter was simple, almost ordinary. Amira was searching for a book on African economic history in the library when she noticed another girl struggling to reach a high shelf. Without hesitation, she fetched the book and handed it over. "Thank you," the girl said with a smile that reached her eyes. "I'm Tamawa." That moment marked the beginning of a bond that grew stronger with each passing day. They studied together, ate together, and shared secrets late into the night. Amira was calm and thoughtful, while Tamawa was bold and fiery. Where Amira hesitated, Tamawa pushed forward. Where Amira preferred quiet reflection, Tamawa filled the silence with laughter. People began calling them sisters, not by blood, but by heart. Tamawa's background was modest. Her father was a retired headmaster. Her mother sold fabrics in the market. They lived in a decent but humble home. Tamawa often joked about envying Amira's life of luxury, but her words always seemed harmless, tinged with admiration, not envy. Or so Amira believed. By their final year, the two were inseparable. They dreamed of the future together, careers, marriage, a life where their bond would never be broken. They promised that no matter where life took them, they would remain sisters forever. But destiny, cruel and cunning, was already weaving a darker thread. One evening, as the sun bled crimson across the Lagos lagoon, Chief Desmond called Amira into his study. His eyes, usually so bright, carried a shadow of loneliness. "Amira," he began softly, "you are becoming a woman. Soon you'll marry and start your own family. When that happens, this house will be empty again. I cannot bear this silence forever. I think I need a companion." The word struck Amira like thunder. She remembered his vow. She remembered her mother's face in the coffin, and the promise whispered that night. For the first time in years, she feared her father might replace the one woman she had thought was irreplaceable. That night, she cried into her pillow, whispering to her mother's portrait that still hung in the hallway, "He promised you. He promised us." The next day, broken and confused, she poured her heart out to Tamawa. Tears ran down her cheeks as she confessed her fear of losing her father's devotion. Tamawa listened, her face calm, but her eyes glimmered with something Amira didn't recognize. Then, with a small laugh that felt out of place, Tamawa said words that would change everything. "Why don't I marry your father?" Amira blinked in shock. She thought it was a joke, but Tamawa leaned closer, her voice honeyed. "Think about it. We're already like sisters. Who else could love and protect him better than me? If I marry him, you'll never have to worry about any stranger coming into your home. It will still be our family. I will always protect you." Amira hesitated. The idea was wild, unsettling, but Tamawa's words wormed their way into her heart. She trusted her friend. She believed in her loyalty. Slowly, the fear in her chest eased, replaced by a fragile hope. That night, she whispered her late mother's portrait again. Maybe this is the answer. Maybe with Tamawa, we can still be a family. But somewhere deep in the shadows of the estate, a darker truth had already taken root. Morning light spilled across the grand Adeyemi estate in Ikoyi. The gate stood tall, polished by guards who never let their eyes rest. Within its walls, marble floors gleamed, chandeliers sparkled like frozen rain, and portraits of ancestors lined the corridors. It was not just a mansion. It was a kingdom. Amira walked slowly through the hallway, her footsteps echoing in the silence that had haunted the house since her mother's passing. In her hands, she clutched the courage to do what she never thought she would. She entered her father's study, the scent of old leather and with filling her senses. Chief Desmond sat behind his mahogany desk, glasses perched low on his nose, leafing through documents he didn't really need to read. Loneliness had become his true occupation. "Daddy," Amira whispered, her voice trembling. He looked up immediately, the stern lines on his face softening. "My moon," he said, using the pet name he had given her since childhood. She hesitated, then spoke with careful words. "If you must remarry, I have someone in mind. Someone I trust. Someone who already loves us." His brow furrowed. "Who?" She swallowed hard. "Tamawa." The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating. Chief Desmond leaned back in his chair slowly, as though measuring every breath. "Tamawa, your friend?" "Yes," Amira said quickly. "She knows us. She understands his family. She is kind, loyal, respectful. Daddy, I trust her with my life. If you must marry again, let it be her." He rose and walked to the window, pulling the curtains aside. Morning sunlight streamed into the room, casting long shadows across the rug. He didn't turn back as he spoke. "Amira, I built empires by studying men. I know how greed hides behind smiles. I know how ambition wears a mask. Good men are ruined by the wrong hands. I fear you don't see what I see." "Daddy," Amira whispered, stepping closer. This wasn't her idea. It was mine. I begged her. She only agreed because she cares for us. Please, just meet her. Just once. If you don't like her, I'll never bring it up again." Chief Desmond turned then, his sharp eyes searching his daughter's face. He saw not the child who once clung to his legs, but a young woman pleading with conviction. He exhaled slowly. One meeting. No promises. The following weekend, Tamawa arrived at the Adeyemi mansion for lunch. She chose a cream-colored gown, simple yet elegant, not too loud but carefully calculated. She greeted each staff member by name, even the gardener, earning surprised smiles. When she curtsied before Chief Desmond, her voice was soft, respectful. "Sir, thank you for welcoming me into your home. I came today only to honor your daughter's invitation." Chief Desmond studied her with cautious eyes. "Be seated." Lunch was served in the smaller dining room. Not the grand hall with chandeliers and marble pillars, but the one filled with family photographs and the portrait of Mrs. Adeyemi smiling in her blue and gold wrapper. It was a deliberate choice. Grandeur could dazzle, but history revealed truth. Conversation began like dancers on a tightrope. Careful, deliberate. Tamawa spoke of school, of her dreams to start a foundation for women's education. She praised Amira, sharing stories that made the housekeeper laugh softly. She never mentioned money, not once. She even offered to help clear the table. Startling the staff, Chief Desmond watched her closely. Every word, every gesture, he measured. When she thought no one was looking, her eyes darted across the room, scanning the antiques, the silverware, the chandeliers. It lasted only a second, but Desmond caught it. He filed it away silently. After she left, Amira rushed to his side, hopeful. "So, Daddy, what do you think?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, he poured himself a glass of water and took a long sip. Finally, he said, "She is careful, too careful. A snake also moves carefully." Amira frowned. "Daddy, please, don't judge her harshly. She truly cares for us." Chief Desmond sighed. "Love, my moon is blind, but I am not. If I step into this, I will test her, and if she fails, may heaven protect us both. That night, when the mansion had grown quiet, Chief Desmond made a phone call to his old friend, Barrister Okon. His words were brief, firm. Find out everything about Tamawa, her family, her debts, her secrets. Quietly. As he ended the call, he stared at his late wife's portrait. Forgive me, he whispered. If I am wrong, I need know before it's too late. Meanwhile, in her small rented apartment across the city, Tamawa stood before the mirror, her phone pressed to her ear. A voice on the other end, older, commanding, spoke firmly. So, did he accept you? Tamawa's lips curled into a faint smile. Not yet, but he will. The voice chuckled darkly. Good. Remember, patience builds empires. Win the daughter's heart, and the father will follow. This is just the beginning. Tamawa hung up, her reflection staring back at her. She touched her bare finger where a ring might one day sit and whispered, Soon, all of this will be mine. Days turned into weeks after Tamawa's first visit to the ADEMOYE mansion. Outwardly, everything seemed pleasant. She visited often, smiling warmly, playing the role of a respectful daughter-in-law in waiting. Amira was overjoyed. She believed she had brought light back into her father's life and secured a future where her family bond with Tamawa would never break. But Chief Desmond's instincts would not rest. He had not built his empire by ignoring his gut. Behind his spectacles, his eyes watched silently, weighing every gesture. Outward smiles could be masks. Sweet voices could carry venom. He knew this. He had seen it in the business world too many times. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered to the palm trees outside, Amira joined her father in his study. She was radiant, full of hope. Daddy, don't you see? She said, sitting across from him. Tamawa is different. She isn't greedy or arrogant. She loves us. Chief Desmond leaned back, folding his hands. Love is not proven in words. Amira, it is proven in fire, and I intend to test her. Amira frowned. Test her? Why? Because a man who fails to test the heart of those closest to him will one day be destroyed by them. His voice was calm, but heavy with meaning. That same week, Chief Desmond quietly called his loyal head of security, Musa, into his office. Install additional cameras in the private corridors, he instructed. Discreetly. No one must know. Musa bowed. Yes, sir. In the meantime, Barrister Okon's investigation report arrived. Tamawa's record appeared clean. Her father, a retired teacher. Her mother, a trader. No debts. No criminal history. Ambitious, yes, but hard-working. There was no evidence of greed. Still, Desmond's suspicion lingered like smoke. He decided to invite her to accompany him, and Amira to one of his charitable outreaches. That Saturday, they drove to Adjugunal, where Chief Desmond funded a free medical camp. Doctors treated the poor, nurses bandaged children's wounds, and lines of weary mothers prayed aloud as they waited for medicine. Unannounced, Tamawa slipped away from Amira's side and joined the volunteers. She tied bandages, handed out medicine, even wiped tears from frightened children. At one point, a boy screamed as the nurse cleaned a gash on his knee. Tamawa crouched before him, pressed her forehead gently against his, and told a ridiculous story about a goat who wore sunglasses to avoid being cooked. The child laughed through his tears. Amira's face shone with pride. Daddy, do you see? She has a good heart. Chief Desmond said nothing. He only observed, his eyes narrowing slightly. Her performance was flawless. Too flawless. That evening, when they returned to Ikoyi, he called Musa once more. Double-check every camera. I want every corner of this mansion under watch. Meanwhile, Tamawa sat in her small flat, her phone buzzing again. The same commanding voice spoke. You are moving well. Even the old man is beginning to soften. Yes, she said, removing her earrings before the mirror. I made him laugh today. He will trust me soon. Good, the voice replied. But do not forget, trust is only the door. Once inside, you must take everything. She smiled faintly. I will. I have waited too long to be ordinary. This is my chance. I won't fail. The following weekend, Chief Desmond invited Tamawa for tea in his study. There was no entourage, no show of grandeur. Just the two of them and the quiet ticking of the grandfather clock. He placed a small velvet box on the table. Tamawa's heart skipped, but he didn't open it. "This is not a proposal," he said. "It is a conversation." She folded her hands neatly, lowering her eyes with perfect humility. "You are my daughter's friend," he continued, "and I am an old man who has lost the only woman I promised to love. I made a vow at her grave, and I do not break vows lightly. If I take another wife, it must not be for beauty or flattery. It must be for loyalty." "I understand, sir," Tamawa whispered. "I would never try to replace her memory. If I enter this family, it will be to serve, not to compete." Desmond's eyes studied her carefully. "If we do this, the companies remain mine. There will be trustees, prenuptial protections, and a board that answers to no spouse. You would be my companion, not my successor. And Amira remains at the center of this house. She is not up for negotiation." For the briefest moment, something flickered across Tamawa's face, a shadow of displeasure, a tightening of the lips, but was gone in an instant, replaced by a small, graceful smile. "Of course, sir," she said smoothly. "Amira is my sister. Nothing could change that." Desmond leaned back, his expression unreadable. "Very well, we will proceed." Tamawa exhaled softly, hiding her triumph. She did not reach for the box on the table, nor did she betray her excitement. She only whispered, "Thank you." Later that night, in the privacy of her room, she finally allowed herself a grin. Her hands trembled as she imagined slipping a ring onto her finger. She lifted her phone and dialed quickly. "He agreed," she whispered into the receiver. The voice on the other end laughed coldly. "Good. Remember, respect buys time. Time buys control. And control buys everything." Tamawa's smile hardened. She touched her bare finger again and whispered to her reflection, "Soon, this house will be mine. Soon." Unseen, in a hidden corner of the mansion, a small red light blinked silently. Chief Desmond's cameras were watching. The wedding was everything high society expected. The ADEMOYE name carried weight. And when Chief Desmond announced he would marry his daughter's best friend, Lagos buzzed for weeks. Journalists debated the scandal. Fashion houses scrambled to design attires for the ceremony, and social media platforms lit up with gossip. On the wedding day, convoys of exotic cars lined the road to Okoye. Guests in flamboyant lace and glittering jewels flooded the grand hall, snapping photos beneath crystal chandeliers that dripped with light. Musicians played high life. Drums rolled like thunder, and camera flashes lit the air like lightning. Chief Desmond carried himself with his usual calm dignity, but those who knew him well noticed the caution in his steps, the reserve in his smile. He cut the cake with Tamawa at his side, accepted congratulations with practiced warmth, and thanked his guests with measured words. Amira, dressed in a gown of gold lace, stood beside Tamawa, smiling for the cameras. To her, this was a fulfillment of her dream. Her best friend was now truly her sister. She whispered as fireworks bloomed outside the hall, "We're a family now. Nothing can break us." Tamawa hugged her sweetly, her perfume heavy and intoxicating. "Forever," she replied. But even as the word left her lips, her eyes flickered past Amira toward Chief Desmond, her new husband, her ticket to wealth and power. The mask began to slip almost immediately. In the first weeks of marriage, Tamawa was careful. She played the perfect wife, doting on Chief Desmond, laughing with Amira, kneeling before elders at family gatherings. The world sang her praises. Such humility, such grace, they said. But within the mansion walls, changes crept in like shadows. Amira noticed first that Tamawa no longer lingered in her room for late-night conversations. Gone were the whispered secrets, the shared laughter that once made them sisters in spirit. Instead, Tamawa moved into Chief Desmond's wing of the mansion, locking herself away. When Amira knocked, she received short, dismissive replies. Soon, Tamawa stopped calling her sister. She referred to her with cold formality. "Amira, the driver's waiting," or "Amira, don't forget your father's meeting." At dinners, Tamawa sat ahead of the table beside Chief Desmond, her back straight, her voice commanding. She issued instructions to the staff with authority, correcting even senior stewards. From now on, she announced one evening, no one enters this wing without my permission, not even Amira. The servants glanced at each other, uneasy. Amira brushed it off at first. Marriage changes people, she told herself. Perhaps Tamawa was adjusting to her new role, but the distance grew. She overheard conversations that chilled her heart. One night, as she passed the corridor near the study, she heard Tamawa's mother's voice, low and sharp. You are inside now, my daughter. Do not waste time on friendship. Love will not feed you. What matters is control. Secure the empire before others steal it. Yes, Mama, Tamawa whispered. I understand. Amira pressed her back against the wall, her heart pounding. The words were a blade against her soul. Her friend, her sister, was plotting not love, but conquest. Days later, the cruelty began openly. At breakfast, when Amira reached for a plate, Tamawa slapped her hand lightly. That's for my husband, she said sweetly. You can eat later. When guests visited, Tamawa made Amira serve drinks, deliberately humiliating her before society women who once envied her. Amira, fetch the wine, she ordered, her tone dripping with mockery. One afternoon, she dragged Amira into the garden while guests sipped champagne on the terrace. On your knees, she hissed. Scrub the stones with your hands. I want the roses shining before evening. Amira, her hands raw from the rough gravel, fought back tears as laughter drifted from the house. Tamawa's chuckle echoed behind her. Who would believe the daughter of Chief Desmond Adeyemi would end up like this? Power bows to no one. Amira, not even you. The servants began to change, too. Once loyal to Amira, they now turned their eyes away when she passed. Some sneered openly, emboldened by Tamawa's authority. Her isolation was complete. Chief Desmond saw. He was not blind. He noticed the mocking glances, the scoldings, the way Amira's laughter had vanished. But he remained silent, his face hidden behind newspapers, his heart heavy with a plan only he knew. Meanwhile, Tamawa's hunger deepened. At night, she prepared Chief Desmond's meals herself, sprinkling powders into his drinks, whispering charms she collected from a shadowy herbalist in Mushin. During the day, she coaxed him to sign documents, slowly shifting control of parts of his empire into her management. Her confidence grew. She wore expensive wrappers studded with diamonds, carried herself with the arrogance of queen, and treated Amira with open disdain. One evening, Amira could no longer hold her silence. She knelt before her father in his study, tears streaking her face. Daddy, please, you know me. You raised me. Tamawa lies about me. She turns you against me. Please believe me. Chief Desmond looked at her, his eyes weary. Amira, I want to believe you, but the evidence piles up. She shows me papers. She whispers of your recklessness. My heart is torn. Amira clutched his arm. Daddy, it's not true. Please, don't let her destroy us. But he only rubbed his temples and turned away, his silence sharper than any rejection. In her chambers at night, Tamawa laughed softly as her mother combed her hair. She still thinks her father loves her. Foolish girl, her mother sneered. Soon the will shall change. Soon the empire will be ours. Not yet, Tamawa replied. Patience, Mama. Respect buys time. Time buys control. And control buys everything. As the mansion settled into uneasy silence, hidden cameras blinked quietly in the corners, recording every whisper, every cruel act, every betrayal. Chief Desmond was watching, biding his time, preparing for the storm that was about to break. The rains came heavy that week, pounding against the glass windows of the Adeyemi mansion. Thunder rolled across the Lagos sky, and the manicured lawns turned into a swamp of mud. Inside, the atmosphere was even darker. Tamawa had grown bolder in her cruelty. She locked the fridge at night, forcing Amira to go hungry. She commanded that Amira use the servant's staircase instead of the grand one. She humiliated her in front of staff, calling her lazy and spoiled. One night, Amira wandered past her father's study and froze at the sound of voices. "You are wasting time," Tamawa's mother hissed. "Yes, you've turned him against his daughter, but that is not enough. Secure the empire. Get him to rewrite the will. Without that, you are nothing." "I'm working on it," Tamawa muttered. "He's already signed documents giving me management rights." "Management?" her mother snapped. "Management can be taken back. Ownership cannot. You must get the inheritance. And if the old man delays," her voice lowered to a whisper, "we help him to his grave." Amira's hands trembled against the wall. She wanted to burst in, to scream, but fear locked her tongue. She fled to her room, tears soaking her pillow until dawn. The following evening, the trap was sprung. Dinner was served quietly. Tamawa poured Chief Desmond his favorite palm wine into a crystal goblet. With a subtle flick, she let fine powder slide into the drink. It dissolved instantly, leaving no trace. "Drink, my love," she cooed. Amira, passing by the half-open door, froze. She saw the powder. Her eyes widened in horror. She rushed in, her voice trembling. "Daddy, don't drink that." But Tamawa blocked her path, shoving her back so hard she stumbled. "Go to your room." Chief Desmond looked at his daughter, then at the goblet. Slowly, deliberately, he raised it and took a sip. Moments later, he coughed violently, clutching his chest. His hands shook, his face pale. "Daddy!" Amira screamed, falling to his side. Tamawa cried out dramatically, "Help! My husband!" But her voice was too sweet, too practiced. Within minutes, staff rushed in. Chief Desmond collapsed into his chair, his breaths ragged. Amira clutched his hand, sobbing, "Don't leave me, Daddy, please." But his eyes closed, his chest heaved once, and then stilled. The mansion erupted in chaos. Staff wailed, Tamawa screamed theatrically, and her mother clutched her wrapper, crying, "Why now, death? Why take him from us?" For Amira, the world ended in that moment. Her protector, her anchor, the only man who had loved her completely was gone. The newspapers carried the headline the next day. Billionaire Chief Desmond Adeyemi dies suddenly after brief illness. High society turned out for the burial. Dignitaries filled the pews. Tributes poured in, praising his generosity and wisdom. Tamawa, dressed in black lace, played the grieving widow perfectly. She dabbed her eyes, spoke softly to reporters, and accepted condolences with a trembling voice. But in the mansion, her mask fell completely. She strutted the halls like a queen, barking orders at staff, rationing food to Amira, and locking her out of her father's study. The final humiliation came one night when Amira, too hungry to bear, boiled noodles quietly in the kitchen. Tamawa stormed in, slapped the plate from her hands, and dragged her by the hair into the garden. "Kneel," she hissed. "Kneel in the dirt like the beggar you are. Tomorrow, after the will is read, you'll be nothing. This house will be mine." Amira knelt in tears, her hands trembling. "Tamawa, please. We were sisters. Why are you doing this?" Tamawa's eyes burned with greed. "That girl you knew is dead. I am the queen now." The next morning, the will was read. The grand hall of the Ikoyi estate was filled with lawyers, board members, and family. Barrister Okon, old and dignified, sat at the head of the mahogany table, a leather briefcase before him. Amira entered quietly, dressed in a plain gown, her face pale from grief. Tamawa swept in moments later, her mother at her side, their eyes gleaming with triumph. "Let's get this over with," Tamawa said coldly, taking her seat. Barrister Okon opened the briefcase and adjusted his glasses. "We are gathered here to read the last will and testament of Chief Desmond Adeyemi. As per his instructions, I will read his words exactly as he gave them to me." The room fell silent. "To my beloved wife, Tamawa," Okon began, "thank you for choosing to marry me, an old man. You brought me companionship in my final years. But you also brought me pain. You lied to me about my daughter, Amira, painting her as wasteful and unworthy. For a time, I believed you." Tamawa smirked faintly, already imagining her victory. But Okon continued, his voice firm, I am not a fool. I saw through you. I knew of your cruelty, your whispers, your powders in my drink. The cameras in this mansion recorded everything. I played along because I wanted the truth to be revealed publicly. Gasps filled the hall. Tamawa's face drained of color. Chief Desmond Adeyemi, Okon read, leave my entire estate, every company, every property, every account, to my daughter, Amira Adeyemi. To Tamawa, I leave nothing. Betrayal cannot inherit legacy. The hall erupted. Staff gasped. Shareholders whispered furiously. Amira sat frozen, her tears falling silently. Tamawa shot to her feet, her voice shrill. This is a lie. It cannot be true. He loved me. He promised me. Her mother screamed, this is fake. We demand proof. Barrister Okon remained calm. He pulled out a flash drive. The evidence is here. Chief Desmond handed it to me personally. Every video, every recording, every act of cruelty toward Amira, every attempt at poisoning. Copies have already been given to the authorities. At that moment, the doors burst open. Police officers marched in, their boots echoing against the marble floor. Tamawa Adeyemi, you are under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud, the lead officer declared. Handcuffs clicked around her wrists. She fell to her knees, screaming, Amira, please. Help me. We were sisters, remember? Forgive me. Amira's lips trembled, her heart breaking. You killed my father, Tamawa. How can I forgive that? Her mother wailed as she too was dragged forward. It was my idea. Don't punish her. Punish me. But the officers ignored her cries. They were hauled out of the mansion, their screams echoing like fallen queens stripped of their crowns. The hall fell silent. Barrister Okon closed the will carefully and turned to Amira. His voice softened. Your father loved you, Amira. Even in death, he protected you. This was his plan, to expose them and to keep you safe. Tears blurred Amira's vision. She clutched her father's old wristwatch in her palm and whispered, Thank you, Daddy. You never left me. In the weeks that followed, Lagos buzzed with headlines. Widow arrested for poisoning billionaire husband. Daughter inherits entire Adeyemi empire. The trial was swift, the evidence overwhelming. Tamawa and her mother were sentenced to life in prison. Their cries in the courtroom faded into silence. For Amira, life slowly began to heal. She inherited her father's businesses, but she chose humility. She continued his charities, built scholarships for orphans, and opened her home to the less privileged. Children played once more in the gardens where she had once been humiliated. Their laughter became her healing. One evening, she stood at her father's grave, a bouquet of white lilies in her hands. The marble headstone gleamed in the fading sun. Daddy, she whispered, her tears falling softly. I thought you abandoned me, but you never did. You loved me until the end. I promise to carry your name with honor. I will not let bitterness define me. Rest well. I love you. As she turned away, the setting sun bathed her in golden light, as though Chief Desmond himself smiled down from heaven, proud of the daughter who had endured the fire and emerged with dignity intact.